So now time for the spoilers. Alright, so first let's talk about this legend of the town of Morgan. So basically, the story goes that once there were these people that roamed the earth who were seen as second to gods. They had, a lot of power. They weren't exactly gods, but they were very, very powerful people. But that power led to a lot of corruption and darkness, and the gods saw that, and they were like, none of this. So they destroyed everyone who wasn't pure of heart, and they destroyed the earth, and things were in turmoil, and life was awful. But the people who were pure-hearted did remain on the earth, but it was hard because they had no more place to live. There was no food. They had to search for land and water, and they just didn't know what to do. They didn't know where to go. But there was a girl named Morgan, and the gods gave her this kind of gift. Again, the gift isn't really explained well. I think it's like a kind of like a premonition thing. They talk about some people have got visions. Sometimes you just know things. It's just very, very interesting. But the gods gave her a gift, and she was able to lead the pure-hearted people to start a new life, to find food, to find land, and the world flourished again, and it created the town of Morgan. And so from then on, the first daughters of families were seen as having the gift, and especially descendants of Morgan, and that is Princess Leah. She is the first daughter of the House of Morgan, so she is expected to have this gift, and she is a very, very important part of their society. And the way this story unfolds in the legend really reminds me of the story of Noah's Ark. How God was like, everyone's awful, and I'm just gonna send this big flood and only save the animals and Noah, and they'll start a fresh new world. So that's what that really, really reminds me of. The legend of Noah's Ark. And yeah. Oh, and then also later on there are these legends about the land that they're fighting against is called Videna. I forget already. But Videna was also a woman who traveled to that land, and she would sing these songs, and they turned out to be these legends. And so one of the legends have to do with Princess Leah, and it's kind of this premonition and prophecy. So it's just very, very interesting and intriguing. And that is all the spoilery parts that I will give. Just if you're coming from the non-spoiler section and you haven't read the book, but you were interested about learning the legend and having me talk about it, I'm not going to say too much, but now I'm really, really going to get into the spoiler section. So if you really, really don't want to be spoiled, this is your time to exit the premises. Okay, I gave you your second. Okay, let's talk. So again, I really, really love Princess Leah. She is amazing. But first, I want to talk about Gwyneth. Again, I'm very suspicious of her. The story kind of ends off with, at least for this aspect of the story, that's talking about Pauline back at the inn after Leah gets ambushed by Caden, who turns out to be the assassin. And the story kind of ends with Pauline, not the overall story, but just that aspect about Pauline and Gwyneth. It ends with them, and they're deciding to go back to Morgan, and Pauline is going to tell the king and tell everyone to go search for Princess Leah because she hasn't heard anything back from Rafe, who tried to go and run and save her. And she just hasn't heard anything back, so she's panicking, so she decides to go back to the kingdom, even though she could be arrested and beheaded for treason for helping the princess escape. She decides to go with Gwyneth to tell the king. And Gwyneth I don't remember if it was the counselor or the scholar that they were going to go talk to, but we find out that Gwyneth is this spy, which is the first suspicious thing. And then she tells Pauline that she should be the one to talk to them and not Pauline. So it's where are you from? What do you know? What are you doing? I'm very suspicious of Gwyneth, and I don't know if I trust her. I know she's been a great friend to Princess Leah, but she is just suspicious. I just don't think I trust her. I don't know what her motivations are or who she works for. I feel like she secretly worked for the counselors who knew, or the scholars, I forget what they're called, who knew basically that Princess Leah was a part of this whole legend in the story that she translates. I feel like they knew, and it's all this whole like conspiracy thing, and I'm just really, really interested to find out more about it. Again, I predicted that Rafe was the prince from like the first moment when they're at the bar and Leah brings in the ciders, and from the first moment when he said his name, I was like, okay, he's totally prince. Just because I knew it would be kind of a trick and not what you think, because the typical thing with a prince is the blonde hair, and he'd have like a pretty name like Caden. He wouldn't be like the dark-haired one named Rafe. Like that, just like your automatic association from stereotypes is like the dark-haired with the weird name, he's the assassin, he's the foreign one. But then when you hear, oh, a blonde boy named Caden, like you automatically think, oh, he's the prince. But I knew it would be a trick. And later on in the story, they kind of like switch around, and each of them have their own dark elements. But I knew that Rafe was the prince. I did not think that Princess Leia would end up falling in love with the prince. I thought it would be like this plot twist, and she would fall in love with the assassin, and then he would try to have to kill her. But that didn't turn out that way. She actually fell in love with the prince. So let's talk about Caden for a second. I don't like him, but I do like him, and I know that's confusing, but I mean, he has to kill her, and he's just in this like weird place where he's like, you know, I have to do this, I have this loyalty to people that saved my life, and all this stuff, and I get that, but like, he's in love with her. I think he should do the right thing, and I know like his companions would kill him, so I know it's a tough spot, but I just feel like he's like, I'm trying to save your life, but I'm still gonna be the bad guy. Like, I feel like he should be fully the good guy who secretly, or no, I feel like he should be fully the good guy, but he's still pretending to be the bad guy. But right now, he's like fully the bad guy, but pretending to be the good guy just to get into Leah's good graces and to just keep her alive. But he really is still a bad guy, and I just think hopefully it'll turn out well, and he'll just like win this eternal battle and turn out. But then I kind of hope he doesn't, because you know, if he turns out good and completely abandons his dark ways and these troop of Vadens that he's with, like if he completely abandons that, then the love triangle will become ultimately more complicated, because it's a love triangle, but it's not really, because Rafe and Leah are in love with each other, and then Caden is just kind of like this third element that is like slightly, you know, affecting their love, but right now she still hates him. So it's very much a Rafe and Leah thing. But if Caden decides to be good, then that may change Leah's feelings, and then it'll be this war of who will she choose. But right now it's very adamant that she's going to choose Rafe. So maybe that's what's going to happen in the second book. You know, Caden's going to be good, and then Mary Pearson is going to put me through like more pain of this love triangle that's kind of not one yet, but it's going to become a full-fledged one. I'm really scared about that. I don't know if anyone else is. And the second book is already out, so I plan to read that next, and then I'll be able to talk about it. But right now, not having read the second book, I am very, very scared of that happening. Let's see. So I think his comrades, I don't know what to call him, but Caden's comrades, I find them very interesting. Malachi or Malik, he's like annoying and I hate him. Grizz is interesting, and the fact that he can actually speak Morganese, is that what they call it? How he can actually speak her language, but he's pretending that he doesn't. So I'm trying to figure out what his secret is and what he's about. Like, everyone else speaks it openly and doesn't pretend like they don't know it, except for Grizz. So like, what is he about? I also find Eben very interesting and just sad that he's this little boy who has been taught to be this monster. And I mean, he slightly has every right to be, because I don't know if it actually was the Morgan troops that destroyed his town, or if it was like the manipulation of the Commissar. But, you know, his family, his parents were murdered. His town was burned to the ground. He has every right to be angry. But hanging out with this troop and the Vadens and getting this like negative influences not helping him mentally. And just the part was so beautiful after, you know, Leah witnessed Walter get slaughtered by the Vadens and his troop of 30 men versus the 300 army. Like, it was just heartbreaking. After she dug those graves, you know, nails broken, like she fought to dig those graves for her brother and his companions when she killed Eben's horse for him because she wanted to show him some compassion. That like touched my heart so much. Like, a lot of people, when I watched some reviews, they talked about how they cried at the part when, you know, Leah witnessed her brother die and she was so distraught and she dug those graves and they just watched her struggle and digging in the ground and carrying, you know, these hefty bodies. Like, and that part was really emotional and like amazing visuals. The writing in that was so well, but that's not the part that made me cry. The part was like, even after she was practically dead inside and hurting and felt like everything was her fault because all this happened when she ran away, the fact that she had the compassion after Eben was a horrible, horrible little monster to her to decide to kill his horse for him because it was his one soft spot. You know, he had no one, no family, and he loved animals. And then, like, the pain it would cause him to have to kill an animal that he raised from a baby, that she saw that past all his awfulness, just like, my heart was shattered, just like crushed. I was like, ah! It was just like so sad and beautiful, and I just really, really loved that part. Next, I want to talk about the vagabonds that they meet and the old lady, I forget her name, but who starts to teach Morgan about her gift, how to find the gift, how to hone it in. And I keep calling her Morgan, but Leah discovers that her mom was the one that kind of like made her reject the gift because part of it is learning to accept it and accept nature, and it's just very like confusing. But I thought it was really interesting, those vagabonds and their whole like lifestyle and how colorful and beautiful it is, and I just really, really loved it. I loved that entire scene, that section where they're staying with them for a couple of days, and then when she finds out that, you know, Caden's troop was the one that killed Greta, her brother's wife, who was pregnant. And when she, like, attacks them, and she's, like, crazy like a wild woman, I'm like, fuck them up, girl. Like, take them down. Like, I was, like, gratified. It was great. Ooh, it got so dark outside, like, so suddenly. Sorry. But yeah, so that part was, like, awesome for me. And just slowly, as she starts to discover her gift, you know, how she predicted the bison coming and how she was able to command the tiger. And she tells a story about how when she was younger, she saw a tiger in the woods and it stared into her eyes, and then her, like, brother called for her or something, and then it ran away. And then now, in the future, when she finally gets away from the troop and she's, like, hiding in the woods, and she wakes up and she's attacked, she's like being surrounded by these monkeys who want to attack her, and then a tiger shows up and the tiger roars, and, you know, all the monkeys run away and the tiger doesn't attack her, and she says go away, and it goes away. So I'm just like very intrigued about this gift. Like, can she command animals? Is she a tigress? Because I know, like, her wedding kava that turned permanent is the vine and the tiger claw, so I'm just like very intrigued. Like, I need to read the second book right now. I'm just like getting myself riled up as I talk about this, but I'm just very, very intrigued of what this gift is and what her abilities may entail. And then lastly, let's talk about Rafe. I think he's very interesting. Again, just like Leah, he's not a typical prince. You know, he's not preppy and do my nails. Like, he's a warrior. He's still a soldier, which I really, really love. And I enjoyed the ending where he sacrifices himself and pretends to be the emissary of the prince so he can be captured, because he was not letting her enter those lands without him. I was like, yes, prince. And also, his real name is really hot. It's like Jackson or something, but like with an X. And then, like, his middle name was like Rafetry, so that's where he got the, like, Rafe or Wrath, however it's pronounced. So I think that's really, really interesting, and I'm excited for their love story to unfold, hopefully without the intrusion of Caden. and they'll be happy and in love forever. But then I also love Caden, so I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, but the ending was pretty epic, and her walking the rest of the miles, and just, she's so strong, and I'm excited. But yeah, I think that's all of my feels for this book. If you've read it, feel free to talk to me in the comments. Yeah, you can like tweet me, you can Tumblr message me. I have a book Tumblr. I'll leave all of that down below and we can talk. Let's be friends. I really want to hear some other feels on this book because I had never heard of it, and I know it's an old book, but my friend recommended it to me. So the third book actually comes out August 2nd of this year, so hopefully I'm gonna read A Gathering of Shadows and do that review, and then I'll read the second book. So by the time I finish the second book, hopefully the third book will have come out. So it's all a strategy. Wow, it's all a strategy because I don't want to be like left with a cliffhanger and not have the third book to read, so I kind of want to put it off a little bit closer to the release date. I should probably get it on pre-order. I will talk to you guys in my next video. Oh, bye!